Hey, what's up guys? Orlando here. So today in this video, I'm going to be answering the most common questions that you guys have about high ticket sales, okay? So to begin, let's start off with what is high ticket sales? High ticket sales is essentially where a business owner who has a lot of leads wanting to invest or be curious about investing into their coaching program. These coaching programs could be pretty much anything. I've seen fitness coaching, financial coaching, business coaching, pretty much any skill that can be taught. Anything that's in the niches of health, wealth, relationships are pretty much endless. So anything like that that can be taught, they likely have a program that they're selling. So an example of this could be someone like Zach Perner, okay? He has built an awesome brand in the fitness space over the last 10 years. And more recently, about a year ago, he launched a coaching program, a business mentorship for people wanting to either start or scale their online fitness coaching businesses, right? Just like he did over the last 10 years. So when he launched that, he had people inquiring about it, asking questions, and when they had those calls, there would be an investment to join the program. So the investment, more recently was anywhere between $6,000 to $24,000. Now, because Zach has such a large following, he doesn't have the time to take all of the sales calls himself. So what he did is he brought myself on. I was a closer at the time. I came in, I started taking calls for him and closing his deals. And a closer typically takes anywhere from 10 to 15% commissions. In my case, it was 15% commissions on every deal that I closed. So for example, if I closed a $6,000 deal, I would be taking home $900 commissions. If I closed a $24,000 deal, it would obviously be a lot more. So that's what a high ticket closer is. Do you need sales experience to get started? No, you do not need sales experience to get started. One of the good things about high ticket sales is you don't need any qualifications, you don't need a degree, you don't need a piece of paper saying that you're certified. But what you do need is you need skill to an extent, you need the right character traits, and you need the work ethic. Too many people in this industry are being sold the dream because they see someone like myself, whether it's in Dubai or Bali or wherever they are, they see us traveling and living the laptop lifestyle, thinking you only need to work 4 hours a day. And that's just not the case, okay? If you have no experience, that's fine, but just know it's gonna take a lot of reps, it's gonna take a lot of time for you to develop the skill of high ticket sales, okay? So you don't need any experience to get started, but you do need to put in the work and you do need to be coachable and willing to actually grind to get good at sales. How much money can I realistically make doing this? Awesome question. So I have seen people make anywhere from $1,000 in a single month in commissions. I've seen people make $50,000 in a single month in commissions. Now, obviously that is a very huge range. The reason it's such a big range is because there's a lot of different factors. You've got your skill level, which is probably the biggest. You've got the offer, which is probably the second biggest. And then you've got market factors. How well is the market doing? How well is the economy doing? All of these different things. Now, all of that combined can lead to someone making $1,000 on the low end, $50,000 on the high end. So before I started teaching people to get into high ticket sales and teaching people to level up their sales ability, I was a full-time closer for the last 4 years. And throughout that time, I closed over $6 million in high ticket sales. Now that was from my laptop, it was working remote, it was traveling the world, but I still had to work to get to that point. Again, it took me 4 years plus of thousands of sales calls, hundreds of objections, multiple different offers, multiple different markets, learning different avatars to get to that point. So can you make that sort of money a lot sooner? 100%. Unfortunately, I took too long to invest in my first mentor. I didn't invest in my first mentor until I was already a year and a half into high ticket sales. Now, had I done that sooner, I would have progressed a lot quicker. I had a guy, Anton, he came to me when he was at $2,000 in commissions, 6 months into high ticket sales. 4 months later, we got that up to 10K, and now he's hitting consistent 15K months. Or one of my other students, Luke, he got into high ticket sales about a year ago, and I believe about 5 months in, he hit his first 10K month, and last month he hit his first 19K month. Right? So the scale varies, but those are some realistic numbers. When I'm talking to someone that wants to get into high ticket sales, I like to really preface the fact that it's going to take time. Can they hit 10K commissions, very quickly in maybe 3-4 months? Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it happen. Is it the norm? Definitely not. And I want to set that expectation, especially if you're coming in with zero sales experience. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, it's going to take reps. But realistically, I think within 6 to 12 months, hitting 10K a month is pretty achievable. Now, obviously that's going to depend on the person, the skill, the work ethic, and the offer as well. And then I think a year, 2 years in, that's where really the skill development is probably the bigger piece, leading to someone's income going higher than that. Is this actually legit, or is it just another online scam? Totally get the frustration, totally get the skepticism because there's so many online business models. You see guys in Dubai, renting a Lambo, renting a jet ski, selling you the dream lifestyle, telling you to start a drop shipping or an e-commerce business. And look, the truth is any of these business models can work. I've seen it work for multiple different people. I know a lot of people that have made a lot of money with e-commerce. I know a lot of people that have made a lot of money with crypto or drop shipping or Amazon. All of these business models can work. Although in my opinion, high ticket sales is not only the best, but it's the quickest and it's the one with least resistance to help you hit your first 10K a month in commissions. The reason I say that is, again, you don't need any prior experience. You don't need a certification. You just have to have the right character traits and you have to be a fairly decent speaker. You don't have to be able to talk on TED Talks or anything like that, but you want to be fairly coherent in the way that you speak. Now, I believe anything can be improved, anything can be made to be better, but ideally, you can talk to people, because that's what you're going to be doing. And I believe it's the best business model to get into because you're 90% of the way there in starting your own business without all of the negatives that come with running a business. You don't have to pay any overheads. You don't have the responsibility of managing a team. You don't have all of the risks involved in starting a business. You can literally come into a business that's already making money with an influencer that already has a lot of leads and a lot of attention, come in, focus on one skill, which is sales, and you can make money very quickly. And then when you do want to start a business down the track, you've learned sales, which is arguably the most important skill for any business, and you've experienced how these business owners work, how they run, and then you can take those skills into starting your own business. The problem I see with too many people is they try and start a business straight away without having any skills. Alex Hormozi talks about this as well. You want to start a business after accumulating skills. So many people focus on money at the start and they get trapped because they focus so much on money that they don't acquire the skills to make money. Whereas if you're young, you focus on the skills like sales, like marketing, like copy, things like that, then you start a business, well then it's a match made in heaven because you already have the skills. So yeah, went on a bit of a tangent, but that's my take on whether this is legit or a scam. Another thing I would say to that mindset as well is, let's say it is a scam. Let's say all of these online businesses are a scam. Cool. Why not just go to university, do your 4-year degree and get a 9-to-5 job? If that's for you, then yeah, consider all of these things a scam. If not, worst case scenario, you try one, it doesn't work, and then you keep trying until you do find one that does work. That's my take at least. How long does it take to start making money? Like I said before, it can obviously vary. I've seen people hit 10K, in their first 4 months, in the first 5 months in high ticket sales. The timeline that I would expect trying to set expectations correctly is, I would say you're probably not going to hit your first 10K a month 6 to 12 months into high ticket sales. Now, let's say you have absolutely no experience talking to anyone, you're a terrible speaker, you need to learn everything from the beginning, then I would say a year is fairly achievable. If you maybe have some door-to-door sales experience, some tech sales experience, or maybe you've sold in retail, you're quite personable, you can speak fairly well, then you could probably come in and smash it within 6 to 9 months. But I like to say 6 to 12 months is probably the timeline that you're looking at, although you can start making money very quickly. I had a guy, Sam, who was working full-time construction, and within 2 weeks working with me, he started making $1,000 a week extra. So there's obviously a range with people, but you can start making money as soon as you get onto a roll. How much you're making, well, that's the next question. What kind of products am I selling? Sweet. So it could be any sort of coaching program typically, right? So like I said, it could be fitness coaching, business coaching. The offer that I sold with Zach was teaching fitness coaches to scale their business. So pretty much any sort of coaching, course, program, mentorship, anything that teaches skills is probably what you'll be selling. The reason that this market is so prominent is because more and more people are realizing that university is a scam. They're realizing that they don't need to spend $100,000 and 4 years of their time for a degree to only go drinking every weekend with their friends and do late night studies and crush their sleep routine. They're realizing that they can learn these skills online and start making money a lot sooner. I've heard of people selling knitting programs, like literally teaching people how to knit, okay? I've seen programs that teach guys to have better sex or to last longer. I've seen dating coaching for men. Pretty much any skill that can be taught can be sold, so those are the programs that you'd be selling. Now, ideally, you find something that you're passionate and interested in selling because that's what's going to give you the most conviction. Is this different from a 9-to-5 job or commission only? Yes, this is very different to a 9-to-5 job. If you come in with a 9-to-5ers mentality and mindset, you're probably going to be wiped off the planet of the earth. Reason being is high ticket sales is, for the most part, commission only, meaning you only make money when you make the business sales, when you bring in money for the business. Now, it's a double-edged sword because on the one side, it's bad because it means if you don't make any sales, you're not going to make any money. And that can be pretty inconsistent. It can lead to high months. It can lead to low months. The good thing is that it means you're paid very well because the business owner can justify giving you 10, 15% commissions when they know that they're only paying it because you're bringing in the money. So there's less risk on their end up front. Now, the reason I say if you come into high ticket sales with a 9-to-5 mentality and you'll get destroyed is because in a 9-to-5, you're paid for your time, not your results, right? Meaning no matter how hard you work, best case scenario, you get a bonus. So you're not really incentivized to work hard. Whereas in high ticket sales, you're paid for your results, not your time, which makes your time infinitely more valuable because every second you go not closing a deal is an opportunity cost of the money you could have been making. So you've got to have the right mentality, you've got to have the right mindset, and you've got to treat yourself like a business owner when you get into high ticket sales. Again, otherwise, you're probably not going to last that long. Can I do this while working my current job? That's another good question. So again, I'd probably talk about Sam because he's a good example of this. I mean, he was working construction full time and was still able to manage high ticket sales on the side. The thing is, you've just got to line up the hours. So for example, if you work a 9-to-5 job, you're either going to have to work in the mornings before your job or in the afternoons after your job. So what I usually recommend to my students who are looking to transition out of their job is to time zone hop. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're in Australia and you start at 9 a.m, so maybe you've got to leave for the office at 8. If you wake up at 4 a.m. and work from say 4:30 or 5 a.m. till 8 a.m, there's a good 3 hours, 4 hours of sales that you can get in before your shift starts, and you're covering American afternoons, right? So you're time zone hopping. Now, that might sound pretty brutal. There was times in my life where I was getting up at 2 a.m. to start at 2:30, 3 a.m. and start taking sales calls for the US. So again, it depends how bad you want it, right? But that's one way you can do it. You can time zone hop, make commissions, make money in the mornings, go to work, and then once you're making enough to replace your job, you quit. The other way is you could work, say, the afternoons. So Australian afternoons are like European mornings, so you could do that too. Now, let's say you're in the States, again, same thing. It depends on the time zone that you're in. You find what works best with your schedule. But as an Australian, what I typically did when I was working at McDonald's, my shift started at 12 p.m, it finished at 8. So from about 5 a.m. till 11 a.m, I got a solid 6 hours on a US offer. And then once I made enough to quit McDonald's, which wasn't hard, I quit the next day. Once I made more in a day than it took me a week to make a McDonald's, that was when I quit. So I always say make enough money till you feel confident enough to quit your job and then go all in, burn the boats. How do I find companies that are hiring closers or setters? Really good question. So in terms of finding these offers, right, like how did I find the opportunity with Zach? How did I find other opportunities in the past? Majority of it was through networking. Okay, now Zach was actually an exception because I got introduced through his brother, which is technically networking, but I cold DM'd his brother. Now, most gurus will tell you to cold DM business owners. Please, please, please do not do that. It's definitely a quality game over quantity in 2025, so don't do that. What I suggest is networking. Okay, now not just networking randomly with strangers, but networking with the right people. Because most applicants for jobs get screened out and rejected before they even make it to the business owner or even the sales manager's desk. So if you actually want to be seen, the easiest way is to get referred by someone that's already in the company. Because think about it yourself, right? If you're a business owner and you need to hire someone, the first thing you're going to do is ask your current team. You're going to say, hey, do you know any sales guys? And then they'll have people in their network. I mean, there's multiple people that I referred to Zach's offer, whether it was coaches, salespeople, purely because I was in and I could just refer them, right? I could just hire them through word of mouth. So that's the best and most quality way to do it. The reason most people don't do it is one, they're fucking lazy. And two, they're impatient because it does take time to build your network. But the long-term reward for that is incredibly valuable because some of the best opportunities in the space, they rarely make it to a job post. So if you can get referred to them by someone in the company, you instantly bypass a lot of the screening and the gatekeeping. So it's all about building your network. That's what I would say. Do I need to be good at talking to people? Like I said before, you do want to have a base of being able to talk to people. Now, can you go from zero experience to doing very well? Yes. Just know it's going to take more time. It will take more time. Most people tell you, oh, you know, all skills are learnable. And I believe the same thing. But if you haven't talked to anyone, you know, maybe you were inside as a kid and all you did was play video games on your own and you never really socialized, that's okay. Just know it'll take you time to build the social skills, right? Now, if you're someone that's got a lot of life experience, maybe you've done some travel, you've done a lot of talking at your job, say retail or a coffee shop, or maybe you're a barber. Barbers do really well. then high ticket sales can be great because you're already used to talking to people. You just have to change how you do it and change your approach and get more of a process. Cool. So I hope that helps. Now, if you guys do want any more help with that, you can message me on Instagram. And I also have a program called Closers Cult where I work with guys directly and help them to either transition into high ticket sales or start making anywhere between 5 to 20K a month by getting better at sales. I actually love the business so much. I literally got it tattooed on my arm. So hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, it was my first ever tattoo and I got it on my arm because it means so much to me. So if you guys want help with that, I'll drop a link somewhere in the description and the comments so you can book a call and we can see if it makes sense to work together. If not, no stress at all. My Instagram's also down there if you want to see some bad jokes. See you in the next one.